Everyone, I welcome you all to my channel Escalate Academy, educating India in a lucid way. I myself Amit, and in this lecture we are going to solve the questions of previous year examination conducted by Odisha Public Service Commission, and this is the paper of Assistant Executive Engineer examination which was conducted in the year 2015. And we will be you can see this is the paper of 2015, and this is the paper for civil engineering, paper 1. And this paper I have solved in two parts. This is the part 1 in which I have solved 45 questions, and in the next part I will be solving the other 45 questions. First, let us see the pattern. What is the pattern of this examination? You can see the time allowed for this question paper is 3 hours, and maximum marks allotted is 180 number. It consists of around 90 questions, in which each question carries 2 marks. Okay, so guys, so this way it becomes 180, and in paper 2 will also be held. We will solve paper 2 also, in which we will solve the next 90 questions. So guys, let's start the paper, and you can see the instructions which are given to the candidate on this paper is like this. You can see and read it out. We will definitely just go through the shift to the paper, and this is the question number 1 which we will solve. So the first question is, if a material has identical elastic properties in all the directions, material having identical elastic properties in all the directions, it will be said to be isotropic. So material which has properties identical in every direction. Suppose every direction means this is the x direction, this is y direction, and this is the z direction. If a material exists and it will be having three directions: x direction, y direction, z direction. So along the x direction properties, along the x direction, along the y direction, and also along the z direction, the properties will be remain the same. Hence, this material is known as isotropic. So the correct answer will be B is the right answer for this question. Let's see the next question. If a composite bar of steel and copper is heated, the copper bar will be under. We know that coefficient of thermal expansion for copper is more than coefficient of thermal expansion for steel. Hence, copper will expand more as compared to steel. So if we suppose if this is the composite bar which consists of steel, and this is the copper. Suppose if we heat it, then the copper will expand more. Suppose it expands like this, and steel will expand like this. So if the final position is this, then we need to compress this copper bar in order to get the final position. This is the final position of this expansion. So if we need to compress this copper bar in order to get the final position. Hence, copper bar will be under compression. Hence, the correct answer will be B is the right answer for this question. Let's see the next question. Maximum bending moment in a beam occurs where? See, maximum bending moment in a beam, where it will occur where the shear force will change sign or the shear force becomes 0. We can see, as we know, that V is equal to dm by dx. This expression everyone would be knowing. And for bending moment to be maximum, we need to say that dm by dx, we will put dm by dx is equal to 0. Or if it is equal to 0, hence the V shear force will also be 0. So for maximum bending moment, this is the condition. For maximum bending moment, and for maximum bending moment, shear force will be 0. Hence, and it will be 0 when the shear force will change sign. Hence, third question, D is the right answer for this question. Let's see the next question. Every materials obey the Hooke's law within its. As we know from the stress strain diagram or stress strain curve, we can see according to Hooke's law, stress is directly proportional to strain until the limit of proportionality is reached. Hence, correct answer is C is the right answer for this question. You can see the next question can be seen. You can see this fifth question. In a rectangular element subjected to pins-like principal stresses P1 and P2 into mutually perpendicular directions. If it is subjected to stresses into mutually perpendicular directions x and y, the maximum shear stress would occur along the plane normal to y-axis, plane normal to x-axis, or plane at 45 degree and 135 degree to xy at that direction, or plane at 45 degree to y direction. We can see the formula for this the correct formula which we know is tau xy is equal to minus sigma x minus sigma y upon twice of sine 2 theta plus tau xy cos 2 theta. Now if we will take tau, then for maximum value of tau, what we will get is tan 2 theta s will be equal to sigma x minus sigma y upon twice of tau xy. This which will be equal to, in this for maximum it will be equal to infinity, and the maximum value of theta for this expression to be infinity is equal to it will be at 45 degree when value of theta becomes 45 degree or 135 degree. Hence correct answer will be C is the right answer for this question. Let's see the next question. 6 is principle of superposition is applicable when. Now we will see what is the principle of superposition says. It says that if in a beam or in any body, suppose number of different forces are acting, so the deflection caused by all the forces, deflection which will be caused by all the forces is equal to the deflection caused by individual forces. Suppose this is the first force, this is second force, and this is third force. The deflection caused by the first force, this is the deflection caused by first force is delta 1, deflection caused by second force is delta 2, and deflection caused by third force is delta 3. Hence total deflection will be delta 1 plus delta 2 plus delta 3 is the total deflection. So principle of superposition is applicable, and this is the principle of superposition. This will be, and total deflection will be equal to delta 1 plus delta 2 plus delta 3. So this is they have asked, and what are the conditions, principle of superposition, and where it is applicable. So it is applicable when the Hooke's law is valid. Where the Hooke's law is valid, it is applicable to where Hooke's law is valid. And secondly, geometry of the structure must not undergo significant change. That is, there should not be any change in the geometry of the structure. Firstly is Hooke's law should be valid, and second is what, geometry of the structure should not change. Hence in options they have given Hooke's law, material obey Hooke's law. Hence C is the right answer for this question. That is, material should obey the Hooke's law. Let's see the next question. That is 7th one. Principal plane is defined as a plane on which the shear stresses is. Principal plane is defined as a plane on which shear stresses is. What is the principal plane? We know that there are two principal planes on which maximum and minimum values of normal stresses occur. If we draw the Mohr circle diagram, you can see, and this is a Mohr circle diagram, and suppose this is the diagram. This is point A, and this is point B. So at point B we can see this represents x-axis represents sigma, and this represents tau, that is shear stress. So at point B and at point A, the coordinates will be how much? It will be sigma maximum, comma 0, and at point A this will be in negative, so it will be sigma minimum, comma 0. So we can see in both the planes 0, the y-axis is 0, that is tau value is 0, value of shear stress is 0. Hence principal plane is defined as a plane on which shear stress is 0. So the correct answer for this equation is C is the right answer for this equation. Let's see the next question. Poisson ratio is an involving. What does the Poisson ratio involve? We know that what is Poisson's ratio? It is a transverse strain upon axial strain. So if we represent Poisson ratio with mu, this is equal to transverse strain upon axial strain. So we can see this is the transverse strain upon axial strain. So Poisson ratio is equal to, it is a function of which involves strains. Hence the correct answer is C is the right answer for this question. Let us see the next question, that is 9th number. The shear force and bending moment is 0 at the free end of a cantilever beam if it carries, in this point of view you can see that when the UDL is over the entire length, suppose this is a beam and UDL is carrying over the entire length, then the SFD for this beam will be, this will be the SFD for this beam, and for this beam BMD will be what? This will be the BMD. This will be the BMD for this beam. So this represents SFD diagram and this represents bending moment diagram. So you can see this is the linear variation. This is, you can see the linear variation. This you can see the curve variation. But at point this, ultimately at free point, both the values are 0. Shear force is also 0 and bending moment value is also 0. Hence, if the shear force and bending moment is 0 at a free end of a cantilever beam, if it carries a uniformly distributed load over the whole span. We have seen that if a fixed beam, if a cantilever beam, sorry, not fixed, but a cantilever beam carries a UDL over the whole span, then you can see that at point free end, that is at point B, if this is point A and this is point B, then the value at B both will be 0. Shear force also and bending moment will be also 0. Hence the correct answer is C is the right answer for this question. Let us see the next question. The shear stresses on a beam section is maximum. Now the shear stress distribution on a beam section, on a beam, we can see if this is a beam, if this represents a beam, then the shear stress variation for this will be what? This will be the shear stress variation, and it will be, suppose this, and this will be maximum, that is at neutral axis. This is a neutral axis. At this axis, shear stress distribution will be maximum, so it will be maximum at the neutral axis of the section. We can see from this diagram. Okay, this is the shear stress variation and this is a beam which we have considered. So we can see this is a neutral axis, and at neutral axis shear force is maximum. Hence the correct answer will be at the neutral axis of the section the shear stress of the beam is maximum. Hence D is the right answer for this question. Let us see the next question. The variation of the bending moment in a segment of a beam where the load is uniformly distributed is, we have to see the variation of a bending moment in a segment of a beam where the load is uniformly distributed. If load is uniformly distributed, then you can see W is equal to dV upon dx, and this is equal to d2m upon dx square. This one, and so if we see indirectly, we can say d2m upon dx square is equal to W. So now we can see dm by dx is equal to, if we differentiate this, equation, suppose if we differentiate this equation, so dm by dx, it will be equal to wx plus c1. Again, if we differentiate, m will be how much is equal to wx square by 2 plus c1x plus c2. So you can see, if in this equation, you can see this equation represents a parabolic form of bending moment. Hence the variation will be of a uniformly distributed load will be parabolic. Hence C is the right answer for this question. Let's see the next question, that is question number 12. The maximum bending moment caused by a concentrated load W at the mid-span of a simply supported beam. If suppose it is a simply supported beam like this, if this is a beam, you can say this is the beam, this is A, this is B, and it is simply supported. Concentrated load, and concentrated load is at the mid-span. If it is a mid-span, concentrated load of W is there at a mid-span. This is A, this is B, this is point C. So reactions will be what? It will be, after solving, you can see directly, say this will be W by 2, and this will also will be W by 2. So Rn, Ra and Rb will be W by 2. So maximum bending moment M maximum at C will be how much? It will be equal to moment at C. At C point moment will be maximum. So it will be how much? It will be equal to W by 2 into L by 2. It will be equal to how much? W L by 4 will be the correct answer. Hence in the question it is given the value is C is the correct answer, that is M is equal to W L by 4. C is the right answer for this question. Let's solve the next question, that is 13th question. A simply supported beam with a rectangular cross section is subjected to a centrally concentrated load. Suppose it has given simply supported beam and a rectangular cross section. Rectangular cross section given है, rectangular cross section is given and simply supported. This beam is simply supported over the span. If the width and depth of the beam is double, now it says that width and depth of the beam is double. That is, B becomes twice of B and depth also becomes twice of D. The deflection at the center of the beam, center point, what will be the deflection at the center if width and depth are doubled? So if we solve it, we can see delta 1. If we say delta 1 is equal to PL cube upon 48 EI. This is the deflection. This is the value of deflection at the central when only a P, that is point load P, exists at the center. Now delta 1 is equal to PL cube upon 48 EI. Now if we change this I, value of I is what BD cube upon 12 for rectangular section. So this is equal to PL cube upon 48 E. I is what? BD cube upon 12. It is equal to BD cube upon into 12. So this value becomes 12 PL cube upon 48 E BD cube. Now suppose the value of width and depth are double, that is, the value becomes twice. So delta 2 becomes how much? It will be equal to 12 PL cube upon 48 EI, 48 EI, and the value of B becomes twice of B and value of D becomes twice of D whole cube. So now if we will solve delta 1 and delta 2, you can see that this value will occur as 1 by 16 of delta 1. Hence the correct answer, this value expression reduced to 0.0625 of delta 1. So this value in percentage we can say it as 6.25%. So the correct answer is, in percentage, it is 6.25%. So correct answer will be D is the right answer for this question. Let us solve the next question, that is 14th. The maximum tensile stresses in a cantilever beam with concentrated load acting downwards on the span is caused by. Now the maximum tensile stress in a cantilever beam with concentrated load acting downwards on the span is caused by, if we can see, this is the cantilever beam, and if we put a load anywhere at this point, load, so if this beam deflects, like this, then you can see the maximum tensile which occurs are, maximum tensile stresses occurs at the top, that but at where, mid span or at support. So it will occur at the support. At support, the maximum bending moment, maximum moment will occur, hence the maximum tensile stresses will occur at the support. So the correct answer for this question will be top fiber at the support, that is D is the right answer for this question. Let's see the next question, that is question number 15. A fixed beam of uniform section is carrying a point load at its mid span. Fixed beam given of uniform section is carrying a point load at its mid span. This is a fixed beam and it carries a point load P at the mid span. If the moment of inertia of the middle of the half is reduced to half of its previous value, then the fixed end moments. Now there is a twist in this question, that we know that you can see fixed end moment do not depend upon the geometry of the cross section. That fixed end moments, whatever these are the moments which do not depend upon the geometry of the section, hence the value will remain constant, that is, will neither increase nor decrease nor change their direction, hence it will remain constant, that is D is the right answer for this question, that is 15 is D is the right answer for this question. Let's see the next question, question number 16. In this question, we have given a point is given as P. The state of stress is Px is equal to 6 MPa, Py is 2 MPa, and shear stress is given as 3 MPa. The magnitude of principal stresses for this state will be. What are the magnitude of major and minor principal stresses will be what? It will be equal to sigma maximum and minimum. This value will be how much? Sigma x plus sigma y by 2 plus minus under root of sigma x minus sigma y by 2 whole square plus tau xy whole square. This is the complete, there will be a complete square root over the complete formula. And now value of sigma x and sigma y we can replace. So as that sigma x is 6x and sigma y is minus 2. So we can say this value after replacing it comes as 6. If we replace right over here, it will become as 6 plus minus 2 by 2, it will be in the bracket, plus minus under root of sigma x, that is 6 minus 2 by 2 whole square, plus tau xy whole square. Tau xy is what? That is equal to 3 whole square. Hence the correct value will be, it will come as twice of plus minus 5. So it will be 7 comma minus 3 will be the correct answer for the correct values of tau. Hence the principal stresses, magnitude of principal stresses for the state will be, these are the value of principal stresses. So maximum will be 7 and minimum will be minus 3. So correct answer will be B is the right answer for this question. Next is the next question. The most appropriate failure theory for ductile material is, for the ductile material, the most appropriate theory is, let's see the options which are there: maximum principal stresses, maximum shear stress theory, maximum shear strain energy theory, or maximum principal strain and energy theory. So for the ductile material, the most appropriate failure theory is maximum shear strain energy theory. Hence 17, that is C, is the right answer for this question. Maximum, they have asked most appropriate failure theory. Now maximum principal stress theory is not applicable for ductile material. This maximum principal stress theory, this is not applicable for ductile material. And maximum principal strain energy theory overestimates the elastic strength of ductile material. Maximum principal strain theory, what does it do is, it overestimates the elastic strength of ductile material. That is, it overestimates the elastic strength of the material. Okay, so this we cannot prefer this value also. Hence right answer will be C is the right answer for this question. Let's solve the next question. A cantilever beam of span L is subjected to a moment M at its free end. If a flexural rigidity of the beam is EI, then the deflection at the free end will be, what will be the deflection at the free end? Suppose if we see the diagram by bending moment by M by EI diagram, we can say that suppose this is a fixed beam. If this is a beam and this is point A, this is point B, and this is point C. So this is the moment M acting over this point, and the bending moment, the BMD for this figure will be, this will be the BMD, bending moment diagram, and this will be the M. And now if we draw the M by EI loading, so for the conjugate beam, the M by this will be the loading, and this will be the M upon EI loading. So this is point A, this is point B, and this is point C. This will become fixed. Now what we will do is conjugate beam with BMD upon EI as loading. Now this is a conjugate beam with M upon EI as loading. Now we can see the deflection in the real beam. Suppose this is a real beam. Deflection in the real beam is equal to bending moment in the conjugate beam. This is the conjugate beam, this is the real beam. So deflection in the real beam will be equal to bending moment in the conjugate beam, we know. So deflection at C will be equal to moment at C, and it will be equal to M upon EI into L into L by 2. Hence correct answer will be ML square upon 2EI will be the correct answer. So MC will be equal to ML square upon 2EI. Hence D is the correct answer for this question. If we let's see the next question. The relationship between the Young modulus of elasticity E, bulk modulus K, and Poisson ratio is given by. This relationship is very much fixed, and it is equal to K is equal to E upon thrice of 1 minus 2 mu. This is the relation, and we also know that if in place of G, it is equal to G is equal to E upon twice of 1 plus mu. This is the relation between G and E, and this is the relation between K and E. Hence, the correct answer for this equation will be C. That is, this is that you can see in this figure. C is the right answer for this question. Is a beam simply supported at both the ends of length L carries two unequal like couples M at the both ends. If flexural rigidity EI is constant, then central deflection of the beam will be how much? We can see in the beam is given like this. This is the beam, and this is the moment couple given acting over it like this. So if now what is it is saying that it is. This is point C, this is point A, this is point B. So now this is the BMD for this diagram. This is the BMD you can see, and this is the conjugate beam for this will be the conjugate beam, and with the M by EI loading. This is M by EI loading diagram, and this is point A, B. Now the conjugate beam, and now the deflection. As we know, we have already solved this question previously. So deflection at point C will be equal to bending moment at point C in this conjugate beam. This is the conjugate beam, and this is the real beam. So now delta C will be how much? Delta C will be equal to M moment at C, and it will be how much? ML upon twice of EI. This is ML upon twice of EI. This is the reaction. This is the reaction. ML upon twice of EI. For at B also, ML upon twice of EI will be the reaction. Sorry guys, because of limited space available, I am just overriding it. So you just don't confuse it with the steps. You can just remind the video lecture and just listen my words. And after this, the MC will be moment at C will be ML by 2 upon EI into L by 2 and minus M upon EI into L by 2 into L by 4. So this value will become as ML square upon 8 EI, ML square upon 8 EI. So correct answer will be D is the right answer for this question. Let's see the next question. 21. Free body diagram is this is the body diagram. FBD is a body in which isolated joint with all the forces internal as well as external acting on it. Hence, B is the right answer for this question. Now, next question, 22nd. Independent displacement components at each joint of a rigid jointed plane frame are. This consists of two linear movements and one rotation, that is sigma linear movements in x direction, y direction, and one rotation in z direction. So the correct answer for 22nd question will be C is the right answer for this question. Next question. Which of the following methods of the structural analysis is the force method? Column analogy method is the force method, while rest are all the displacement methods. Let's see the 24th question. For approximate analysis of a building frames under vertical loads, the point of inflection is assumed as. This point of inflection is assumed as at a 1/10 of the span length from each end of the beam. Suppose this is the beam, and the point of inflection will be the point of inflection. These 2 points, this point and this point, will be the point of inflection, and this will occur at 0.1 L. It will occur at 0.1 L from both the supports. So this is the L length complete beam. Hence B is the right answer for this question. Next, see the 25th question. A fixed beam of uniform section is given. It is carrying a point load at its midspan. If moment of inertia of the middle half length is reduced to half of its previous value, this question has been repeated. So I have already told that fixed end moments does not depend upon the geometry of the cross section. Hence, it will remain same. Hence, D is the right answer for this question. The deformation of a spring produced by unit load method is called, this load is called flexibility, and it is by A. So flexibility is nothing but is equal to deflection produced by unit force. Hence flexibility, hence A is the right answer for this question. Let's see the next question, that is 27th. The displacement method of structural analysis, the basic unknowns are, in displacement method the unknowns are displacements, and if there is a force method, then the unknown forces, the basic unknown will be forces. But in this question they have given displacement method, so we will be considering B is the right answer for this question. Next question, let's see, if the displacement at a coordinate I due to unit force at coordinate J is delta Ij, and the displacement at a coordinate J due to unit force at coordinate I is delta Ji, then according to Maxwell reciprocal theorem, delta Ij is equal to delta Ji is the correct answer. Hence both the values will be equal. This states the Maxwell's reciprocal theorem. Hence A is the right answer for this question. 29th question, let's see. To generate the jth column of a flexibility matrix, for generating the flexibility matrix, we need a unit force is applied at a coordinate J and the displacement are calculated at all the other coordinates. Hence A is the right answer for this question. Let's see the 30th question. For a statically indeterminate pin jointed plane frame, the relation between M and J is equal to, we know M should be M is equal to 2J minus R, where if M is greater than 2J minus R, then it is this is value for indeterminate structures, and for unstable structures M is less than 2J minus R. Hence the correct answer for this will be M is greater than 2J minus 3, that is C is the right answer for this question. In the next question, let's see the ratio of strain energy stored by a solid body of diameter D and strain energy stored by a hollow shaft external D, having an external diameter D and internal diameter as a small d. So we know that as strain energy is directly proposed is equal to T square into L upon 2GJ1. 2GJ. Now J for solid body, J for solid body is equal to pi d to the power 4 upon 32, pi d to the power 4 upon 32, and for hollow shaft J is equal to capital D to the power 4 minus small d to the power 4 upon 32 into pi. So this is the value of J for hollow shaft, and this is for the solid section. So if we divide the two values, the answer which will become as d to the power 4 upon capital D to the power 4 minus small d to the power 4, that is D is the right answer for this question. Let's solve the next question, 32nd question. Muller-Beslow's principle in structural analysis is used to obtain virtual work energy, to draw influence line diagram for any force function, or for superposition of load effects, or none of these. Hence the correct answer will be Muller-Beslow principle in structural analysis is used to draw influence line diagram for any force function. So the 33rd question, let's see. Influence line for forcing function gives its variation at a given particular section. Hence B is the right answer for this question. Let's see the next 34th question. The moment required to rotate the near end of a prismatic beam of length L and flexural rigidity EI through a unit angle without translation, the far end being fixed, is given by. If a unit load, the far end is given as fixed, so we can see in this question theta, value of theta has been given as 1. So for this beam, if we rotate this beam by this, so in the diagram, deflection diagram will become like this. It will come like this, not this. So theta is equal to what? ML upon 4EI. So M will be equal to how much? It will be equal to 4EI upon L. Hence correct answer will be equal to 4EI upon L. So the right answer will be D is the right answer for this for this question. Let's see the 35th question. Castigliano's first theorem is applicable for. The Castigliano's first theorem is that this is applicable only for principle of where the principle of superposition is valid. Hence 36th question is, let's see 36th question. The deflection at any point of a perfect frame can be obtained by applying a unit load at a joint in the direction in which deflection is required. That is, in direction in which deflection is required, we need to apply unit load at that direction only. Hence, D is the right answer for this question. Let's see the next question. The purpose of lateral ties in a short RCC column is to in a purpose of, what is the purpose of? I think this question number has yes, the values have become up and down. We will see the 37th question over here. We can see the strain energy stored in a simply supported beam of span L and flexural rigidity EI due to central concentrated load W is given by. This is value strain energy, and this is strain energy U is given by how much? Twice of 0 to L by 2 and m square mx square upon twice of EI dx. So this will be a value after solving it, this value where m will be given as Wx by 2. Hence, after solving this value, it will come as W square L cube upon 96 EI. So correct answer will be W square L cube 96 upon EI will be the correct answer. And then now the next question will be, let's see the next question. A beam AB is fixed at both the ends and carries a UDL distributed load of W intensity and over an entire length. Due to some construction defects, the end beam of beam B is now reduced to simply support. Now it is not reduced to simple support. The percentage increase in bending moment will be how much? This is the fixed beam. Now it is reduced. Now, so the fixed end moment will be WL square upon 12. And here also in a fixed beam, so it will be WL square upon 12. So now if it becomes hinged, now beam has become like this. So if we will put an anti-clockwise rotation, that is WL square upon 12 in this direction only, and WL square upon 12 in this direction only. So at A and at B, we can see WL square upon 24, which was acting. This moment will be this moment half will be shifted over here, and initially it was WL square upon 12. So plus WL square upon 12. The value will be how much? It will be twice of WL square upon 12. So after percentage increase, when we find out the percentage increase, it will be become as 50% of the initial value. And that is that we will divide this minus for percentage. What we will do is we will just decrease 3 by 2 WL square upon 12. If after solving it, minus WL square upon 12 upon WL square upon 12. So correct answer will be it will come as 50%. So correct answer will be B is the right answer for this question. Now given is a fixed beam AB is subjected to triangular load varying from 0 at the end W to a unit per unit length at end B. The ratio of fixed end moment at B to A will be how much? So it will be how much? If we draw this diagram, if we can see in this diagram, this is the diagram, and in this value comes as WL square upon 30, and this comes as WL square upon 20. So if we divide the two values, it will become as 3 by 2. Hence, for this is A, this is point A, this is point B. So MFBA upon MFAB, it will come as 3 by 2. Hence, correct answer for this equation will be 3 by 2. That is D is the right answer for this question. Now the 40th question is, let's see. In moment distribution diagram, the sum of distribution factors at a members meeting at any joint is always equal to 1. Hence correct answer is C is the right answer for this question. In a slab, the minimum reinforcement for Fe250 provided if Fe250 steel is given, then it is equal to 0.15%. And remember, if it is given as Fe415, then this value will be 0.12%. So let's see the next 42nd question. Whenever the earthquake or wind load is taken into account, the permissible stresses may be increased by these are increased by of about 35%. That is the value is increased by 35%. That is D is the correct answer for this question. So guys, this is the 42nd question, and previously the value of the next questions are above. So we will be seeing here. We will be solving. I have already told that for only 45 questions we will be taking, and after that question we will cover it in part second. The purpose 43rd question is the purpose of lateral ties in a short RCC column is to avoid buckling of longitudinal bars, facilitate construction. So 43rd, what is the correct answer? That is A is the right answer for this question. That is main function of lateral ties in RCC column is to prevent buckling of longitudinal bars. Hence A is the right answer for this question. 44. For vertical stirrups, the maximum spacing for shear reinforcement measured along the axis of the member shall not exceed. This is equal to 0.75 D or 300 mm. That is, but here only 0.75 D is given. So hence B is the right answer for this question. Let's see the 45th question. Last question. This is the last question, and which will be attending the next 45 questions in the remaining part. So the last question for this lecture is, in the limit state design of concrete section of limiting value of depth of the axis maximum for steel Fe 415, this value is given as 0.48 D. That is actual maximum by D for Fe 415 is equal to 0.48 D. So guys, we have completed the 45 question for our first series, and we will be solving next 45 question in our next lecture. So guys, stay tuned with us, and if you have not subscribed our channels, then please do go to the subscribe button and click, and also click all the notifications, and do definitely like this video. Guys, thank you for watching this video. Thank you. Thanks a lot.